Continuing here. Yeah, I was just pointing out that, California is a very popular state, and it's not diminishing in population, it's growing in population. And that's just what I want to say to Alex Jones. I mean, come on, man. There might be periods where it's not growing as fast and people are leaving, and who can blame them? I mean, I can't blame them. Really can't. I mean, if you could find somewhere with a lower cost of living, fine. But I mean, if these are, like you say, these are like the locusts that came and ate us up, and now they're coming to your state to eat you up, well, understand how they're eating you up and blame crony capitalism. That's what's caused all these problems. Then you blame California for being the debtor state that it is, and all the socialist policies. Well, point the finger correctly. Otherwise, it's just like, blaming a rape victim for being sexy. I mean, it doesn't work that way. Okay, you blame, the rapist. And the rapist is the federal government at the end of the day. And if California did go that way, well, who do you blame? You blame the people. They're following their image and likeness. They're following their example. That's all they're doing. So you want to get crazy and socialist? Well, we'll show you, Moonbeam says. But, I mean, is it worked if he's truly an egalitarian and believes in all these liberal principles and everything? Okay, about sharing the wealth. It's socialism. Isn't that the perception? Perception is reality, even though most people that, profess to be socialists don't know anything about the history of socialism and its failures, wanton failures all over the world. It just doesn't work, but we're just going to beat our head against the wall and keep trying. And, maybe someday, the kind of socialism I'm talking about, the egalitarian one, will succeed. But it never does, right? So capitalism is the only answer, but we haven't had that, and people need to understand that. Okay, they murdered JFK. We haven't had America since 1963 that I know of. Okay, there was a chance that things were really going to turn around in a significant way, and that he could have created a rising tide of prosperity, okay, through these sound economic policies. JFK could have created a situation where we had a rising tide of prosperity across the board. We had a real chance for a turnaround if it was the right time in history. But again, God is in the mix here. And so things got to happen on God's timetable. But that time is coming, like I said. I mean, sooner or later, one way or another, okay, the levee's going to break. It's going to hit the fan, okay? The day of reckoning is what it's called. Just like any ledger, okay? There's sooner or later, you can fudge and get away and postpone, you've got a court date to appear for extortion or whatever, embezzlement on the books, or, fudging and whatever, evading taxes, okay? But sooner or later, one more it's going to catch up with you. Okay, you can evade for so long, you can run so long, but you can't run in perpetuity. And that's what's going to happen. There is that day of reckoning. Thank God it's coming. I don't know if Trump's ushering that in or not. I just don't know sometimes. I think sometimes he talks very immaturely about women. I take offense. I've got daughters in their 30s, and I take offense at that. I think it's immature. It's like, what happened? Did somebody stunt your growth in, third, fourth grade? When did I talk about girls like that with horse faces? Or you can't talk to women like that. They're all going to turn on you. And who can look? I mean, it just be like Hillary Clinton being in there and talking about me that way or any other woman. I mean, who knows what woman is going to doubt? Maybe I've got a horse face. So next thing, Trump's going to call me having a horse face. I mean, come on, man. If I was talking to President Trump, that's all I got to say, man. It's just, come on, read the book of James, chapter 3, okay, and read it every day. But the rudder, man, it's, the tongue, a restless evil, and what a large forest to set afire by such a small spark. And we learned that big time here in California recently with this car fire. It was literally a spark from a wheel, flat tire, that started this fire. So, I mean, there is a very tangible example as a metaphor, an allegory to what goes on with the tongue. So we've really got to really watch the stuff we say. And I'm talking to myself too here. I need to watch what I say, because, I mean, look, it's what's in the heart comes out the mouth. So it's inevitable that it's going to come out our mouth if we're harboring in our hearts. So we've got to think about our nemesis, our adversary, our opponents, whoever we perceive those to be, okay, on a very sober-minded level. We've got to think of them the way God wants us to think about them, not the way that we are programmed to think about them from somewhere in our past, our childhood. Well, this is the way I always dealt with these people before, and you know, I mean, so it's stuff we got to go through in life. I've got the stuff I got to go through, and Trump's got the stuff we all got to go through. But you wouldn't do that if you were in your right mind. You really tame the tongue, right? That's what's written in Scripture. A man that can tame the tongue is perfect. I mean, that's being in your right mind, being perfect. So anyhow, so to digress a little bit, I'm talking about my family genealogy. I don't even know. My dad and I never even did a DNA test. I never wanted to with my daughters. But, you kind of think, you believe the stories people tell you. If you're adopted, you want to know and all that. If there was anything else going on here, you want to know. Because it's fun to think about it. But at the end of the day, we are all related. My mother, she came, both her parents were immigrants from Dalmatia. They came, and in fact, my grandmother, my mother's mother, was a landlord down in the L.A. area, in Maywood, East L.A. She grew up speaking fluent Spanish. That's another thing I want to talk about is this idea. I was pointing out this guy, this Hispanic guy, he was allowed to have his face blurred. So they did put, this guy was suspected of murder and robbery. And I thought, well, that's very unusual. Now, why anybody being charged with a crime, okay, before any trial or anything, they're showing their faces not blurred. So what is this guy's exclusive privilege? See, exclusive privilege bothers me, whether it's within a group or whatever, because typically it's a group of individuals, right, that are afforded some special privilege. And I find it repugnant, insufferable. Okay, whenever anybody, I'm wholly anti-elitist. I despise it. I loathe elitism. If you want to get my goat, it's by prescribing to elitist principles and credos and philosophies. I don't like it. I don't like people having exclusive privilege. It's an ungodly, unholy, untenable, unnerving, insufferable quality that I find. And so I will speak out under no uncertain terms about it. And like I said, I was brought up that way. And my dad, look, he was very liberal, and I do believe he was an egalitarian. Both of us practically worshiped Martin Luther King Jr. We both absolutely adored. We were appalled at the assassination of JFK. And I don't know why on earth my dad would get it in his head to blame somebody deceived him that was deceived, or they were a deceiver. But something very powerful happened to my dad, where he thought somehow the Republicans were responsible. While I found the vast majority of Republicans to be repellent, I don't like them. I don't like establishmentarian neocons, no, liars, because all the stuff I talk about, a basic income, do you understand how fiscally conservative that would really be? How much I could lower your taxes by offering a basic income. And I could promise you, and even, I don't know, look, I'm no predictor, I'm no prophet, okay, but I could promise you, knowing what I know about economics, which is extensive because of my own research, my desire to learn, to understand this stuff, I can tell you society would not break down, absolutely would not break down. But you'd see traffic plummet overnight on the LA freeways. You worry about overpopulation there, okay. Parking, that means you can have excess parking. Get rid of all these paid parking, all those jobs, we don't need them. Stop paying for stuff that you don't need. Stop creating jobs, okay? Give people income as much as they need to survive. It's going to drive the cost down. Do you understand? And it's going to open up competition. It's going to open up innovation. When everybody feels safe and secure. When we start feeling free. When we see hope, light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, it's going to be such a departure from the paradigm, this reality, so-called reality that has been shoved down our throats essentially. Okay, and that's why I sound so radical. But to me, it's like, dude, it's a done deal. I mean, why do we accept renting when we can own? It's like your parking. Say, wait, no, city council, let's buy this property over here, okay? Because we know you're trying to pull one over. We know you're just trying to buy jobs and then buy leverage and votes and all. I know what's going on here. Yeah, okay, so we're not playing that game. We, the public, are going to buy our own parking spaces. Do you understand? We're going to get paid off. We're not going to pay in perpetuity. And then you can just always raise the rent on the meters at will. Eat low-hanging fruit. That low. This is the way it works, man. So it's never in this socialist utopia they talk about. It's never those in society that can comfortably afford to pay the bills of society. They are picking on the low-hanging fruit. That's the people at the bottom that have no power, have no clout in society. Paying a parking meter. Who has to pay a parking meter to go downtown to the hardware store? You think poor people don't have to do that? So who's footing the tab? Who's paying the bill? The poor people are. It's a tax on the poor. Any tax that the poor also have to pay is a tax on the poor. Who could say it's not? You say, well, everybody else. It doesn't hurt everybody else. It's just like trying to measure pain. You're trying to tell me, oh well, you're jabbing this guy in the arm with a spike, and you're putting a little tiny little needle in this guy's arm, and you're saying it's equivalent. Well, he has to pay it too. Yeah, he paid tiny. You can barely feel it. But this guy, oh, he's going to feel it. You understand? So, I might use hyperbole and some off the wall allegories sometimes, but I'm just trying to make a point. Okay, irrefutable, undeniable point, unequivocal point. Okay, that we're going down the wrong path here. We need to think about owning, we the people owning, the masses owning our own stuff, not renting it, and being free from under the thumb of the monsters that are manipulating the crap out of us, okay, and making us miserable, making our lives difficult, fomenting crime, inducing crime, okay, they're selling, the purveyors of this nonsense, the social welfare industrial complex. We got to bring this in, and then they control everybody through this way. Well, these are jobs now. Do you understand the irony of, say, well, if you ended poverty, a good thing. I mean, who could deny that's a good thing if you ended desperate poverty? For one thing, you see crime plummet. Then you say, well, wait a minute. Okay, now I get it. That's a bad thing then. It would have a bad effect if you ended poverty, desperate poverty at least. It would have a bad effect on employment in the criminal industrial complex, right? Law enforcement, the jailers and everything else, clerks and judges, everything else are involved. And these are pretty decent jobs, right? With benefits and all, retirement and all that stuff, right? And they can take what they want pretty much. I mean, it's a select amount of people that can get into these jobs. Not everybody can have one of these government jobs, and they're all government jobs, right? All law enforcement, anything pertaining to law enforcement, it pertains to city, county, state, or federal law enforcement. Cops. Lower level cops to the highest level, right? Local city cops to the federal cops, FBI and stuff. So we'd see there'd be no need. All these social workers would be out of jobs. The social welfare industrial complex would plummet overnight. The debt industrial complex would plummet. They wouldn't need to lend out money because there weren't people in need so much. Everybody's feeling more secure, financially secure. And then the dubious wars would be much harder to start. So their military-industrial complex would suffer too, and all the proxies, right? What are these big companies, the Boeings out there, and the Lockheeds, and all this crap, right? They would all suffer in employment and in stocks and bonds and Wall Street. So you say, well, yeah, you're right. Then I guess this guy's right. It would be very fiscally conservative, fiscally tax-wise, very prudent. And me as a conservative, I believe it would save me a lot in taxes. They say, but and the liberals would have to agree too, right? They'd all have to agree. Oh, yeah, it's very liberal and egalitarian of you, and I'm a proponent of that, socialism and equality. And generosity and tax and spend, but take away the taxes. They don't need to do that. I mean, how could any liberals be opposed to that if you just didn't need a tax, but there was plenty to share, so everybody was prosperous? So you'd think that no liberal and no conservative could be in their right mind, right? that was thinking straight, could be opposed to the things I'm talking about. But yet they would, and they would say right there, you admitted that what that the effect would be mass unemployment. Because okay, we'll give you that much that the vast majority of jobs today revolve around the problems persisting, and God forbid the problems ever go away, which stems from desperate poverty. Remember, this is key. You got to keep people in fear. Do you understand?